This is going to be a basics video about gap dimensions. This is the Pittsburgh composite, right? That means it's a composite. It's a combination of materials, plastic and other types of plastic. This is a digital caliper, which is a measuring device. This costs about $10 maximum. Don't pay any more than that, from Harbor Freight. We're going to turn it on. It's in metric, which I recommend because that's the measurement of the future. Anybody that's still using, what is it called? SAE standard, imperial standards, imperial, right? Imperial margin is gross, all right? And it's like the king, which is gross. We don't use imperial stuff no more. It's gross, except for Libya and Myanmar. So this is the OD, outer diameter, of the pole. 60.8, it's probably going to be about 61, like what they spec'd it out to be at the factory. And then you can use the other side like that, or you can actually open it up and you got to look down at the top and kind of, sometimes you got to guess a little bit. But you want to know what this is called, the washer, also known as the top plate. And you want to know the inner diameter of the washer. And when you go to a builder and you say, hey, I need this blah, blah, blah coil or whatever. So a lot of times it's easier for me to remember what motor it goes to. I remember that this blank, whatever coil goes towards that motor. And if you don't know those things, I'm going to need the gap dimensions. The other thing that you can see on the Dave's PSI diagram is I also need to know how thick the top plate is. And then it helps to have profile meaning side pictures, so I can see how thick the magnet array is, and also what frame you're using. That helps me know what coil we can use, we can get away with, what we can compromise in order to get it to work. Now, a lot of people think that the coil that they use from the factory is somehow magical or engineered. Sometimes that is the case, but really you just want it to fit. So, and you want your tolerances to be, maybe like a lot of times I use a 0.5 millimeter shim, like on Rockford's. Sometimes the DD use a thinner one. So does JL. They use a thinner one. I don't really like that. I like a thicker one, like about 0.75 shim, which means 0.75 millimeter on each side. That's what TC Sounds used, and it worked really, really well. And then as far as the outside, you want to be about 0.75 to about 1 full millimeter on each side, so for a coil clearance. Some people who engineer these, in this case it would be Jacob Fuller of Sundown, sometimes they're a little sloppier than you would assume, which is fine. If it works, it works. That's all that really matters. The other thing that you want to measure when we ask for gap dims is you say, what's the hole pattern? So what you want to look at is this hole pattern. This is the basic 5-inch, also known as 127 millimeter hole pattern. It's M6, meaning this is a metric 6 millimeter screw, and standard M6 is by 1 thread per inch, or not per inch, but per millimeter. So it'd be M6 by 1 is what it's called. And then it's a 5-inch hole pattern, also known as 127 millimeter by 6 holes. So that's the standard hole pattern. Sundown sometimes uses different hole patterns. That's the standard one. There are several other standards. This is the Diamond Audio D6. This uses the same hole pattern and diameter series. There are ones that use other ones. I don't really want to get into that shit because it's not super standard, but if China does it, then all of a sudden it's standard because that's where everybody gets their stuff from. But those are the basics on gap measuring. And when somebody asks for the gap dims, that's what they're talking about, the gap dimensions. This dimension right here, I don't want to know how thick that is. That doesn't fucking help me. I need to know the outer diameter of the pole and the inner diameter of the washer. That's what I need to know, because that helps me find out which coil you're going to use. And then you also tell your coil preferences. If you need a final impedance of 1 ohm and you have 3 woofers, then say that. Say I have 3 woofers, but I need a final impedance of 1 ohm. Or a final impedance, like if you start asking for stupid ones, like below that, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions because you're an idiot and you're not supposed to be taking your amp down below 1 ohm. don't fucking do that. You're not working in a competition. You're not doing something special. You just want your woofers to work. So I want them to work too. So you need to follow the fucking instructions. You understand that? All right. Thank you.